The invitation. No human ever got. The stars above Stellar Prime blinked like frozen fireflies. The alien world was famous across the galaxy for its glowing trees, floating rivers, and a palace made of crystal. No human had ever walked its royal grounds. Not until now. Jake Reiner stepped off the transport ship wearing a formal black suit with silver cuffs. He looked around, feeling both honored and nervous. Giant banners floated in the air, each one showing the sigil of the Velkari Empire, a crown surrounded by a serpent. Two tall alien guards with silver skin and golden eyes approached him. "Human," one said in a deep voice. "You are expected at the palace. The Queen waits." Jake nodded. "I'm ready." He didn't know why he was chosen. Back on Earth, he was just an explorer, a cultural observer. He studied alien species, traditions, languages, but he had never done anything special to deserve this. Still, the Queen herself had sent a glowing message. "You are invited to the grand feast of Salar. Come alone." The alien city was silent. No children played, no shops were open. Every alien he passed bowed their heads quickly, as if afraid to look at him. Something felt strange. When Jake finally reached the palace gates, he gasped. It stood like a glass mountain, each wall glowing with soft light. Alien flowers bloomed in the air around it, releasing sweet smells that made him dizzy. Inside, the air felt heavy. A short alien servant, eyes covered by a silver blindfold, handed him a robe made of golden thread. "You must wear this to enter the Hall of Queens," the servant whispered. Jake changed in silence and followed them through. A hallway filled with statues of past queens, each one more beautiful and deadly looking than the last. Finally, giant doors opened. A grand feast hall stretched before him, with a ceiling that showed the galaxy above as if it were real. Long tables were filled with strange glowing fruits, dark meats that moved slightly, and silver drinks that smoked in the air. And at the far end sat Queen Zalthara. She was tall, elegant, with silver blue skin and eyes that glowed like moons. Her hair flowed like liquid light. She didn't speak. She only watched him, eyes unblinking. Jake was led to a special chair made of crystal, placed at the center of the hall. He sat down. Musicians played soft alien tunes. Dancers floated above the floor, their movements slow and hypnotic. But something felt off. There were no other guests. This feast was for him, and only him. Then the Queen finally stood. "Welcome, human," she said in a soft but cold voice. "You honor us with your presence. Tonight you shall dine like royalty." Jake gave a polite nod. "I'm honored, Your Majesty." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. As the first dishes were served, Jake noticed something strange. The Queen wasn't eating. Neither were the servants. The food smelled sweet but also sharp like metal. He lifted a fork but paused. A dancer passed close to him, dropping a small folded note on the table near his plate without anyone noticing. He opened it under the table. "Don't drink. Don't eat. Don't trust." His heart skipped a beat. He looked around quickly, but no one seemed to notice. Trying to stay calm, he leaned back. The Queen raised her hand. The music stopped. "Bring the daughters," she said. From behind a curtain, 7 tall and stunningly beautiful alien women entered, each one wearing silk that shimmered like stars. Their skin colors ranged from deep violet to pale silver, and their eyes glowed like fire. They surrounded Jake, touching his shoulders, his face, his hands. "You are even more perfect than we expected," one of them whispered. He forced a smile. "This is all very generous." "You were chosen," another said, "out of billions." "For what?" Jake asked. But none of them answered. One of the daughters leaned close and softly whispered into his ear. "You're not here to eat, Jake. You're here to be eaten." Jake froze. Then the giant doors behind him shut with a loud boom, and the room grew quiet. And in that moment, he realized this was not a royal dinner. This was a trap. The feast of exotic temptations, Jake didn't move. The heavy doors had slammed shut behind him, sealing him inside the glowing feast hall. The Queen's daughters still stood around him, their touch soft, their smiles sharp. The note hidden in his sleeve burned in his mind. Don't drink, don't eat, don't trust. The Queen clapped once, and the daughters stepped back. Music began again, slow, strange, and beautiful. A servant floated in, carrying a tall, shimmering glass filled with blue liquid. It pulsed like it was alive. For the honored guest, the servant said with a bow. Jake accepted it with a fake smile. The drink was cold in his hand, and something inside the liquid moved, slowly, like a sleeping creature. He raised the glass, pretending to drink, but tilted it just enough that nothing touched his lips. He set it down carefully. The Queen's voice echoed through the hall. Each of my daughters has chosen to present herself tonight. You are the first human male ever given such honor. Jake looked around. The daughters stood in a perfect circle. One by one they stepped forward. The first was Lazira. Her skin was dark silver and her eyes glowed bright yellow. She danced around Jake without touching him, her movements slow and smooth like smoke. Her voice was like a whisper inside his head. I know your fears, human, she said without moving her lips. But fear is the spice of our kind. The second, Meryl, placed a warm hand on his chest. Her nails were sharp, but she didn't press. You have strong blood. You will.
Serve well.
Jake kept smiling, though his pulse was racing. The third daughter leaned close, sniffing him like a hunter smelling prey. The fourth slid a piece of glowing fruit between his fingers, urging him to eat. The fifth said nothing, just watched him, like a puzzle she already knew how to solve. The sixth whispered, You will enjoy your purpose. Many do. At first. And then came the seventh. Izara. She looked different. Her skin was not silver or violet, it was a warm, soft tan. Her hair was black and long, not glowing. Her eyes were not lit with power, but with emotion. She walked up to Jake and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You don't belong here, she whispered. This is not a celebration. This is a ceremony. Jake blinked. What kind of ceremony? But she stepped back before she could answer. The Queen stood, raising her hands. It is time for the choosing, she said. The guest may choose one daughter to spend the night with, but beware. Choice is an illusion. The chosen may become the chosen. A wave of laughter rolled through the hall, soft and wrong. Jake stood slowly. His heart pounded. He knew now. This wasn't about pleasure. This wasn't even about politics. This was a hunt, and he was the prize. He scanned the daughters. Most of them stared with hungry eyes, ready to take what they believed was already theirs. Only Izara looked afraid. He made a decision. A risky one. Jake stepped forward toward the Queen and bowed deeply. I cannot choose. You are all too perfect. Let your daughters decide who is best for me. The Queen tilted her head, amused. How humble. Very well. Let them choose. Suddenly, the music stopped. All 7 daughters began circling Jake, their movements sharp now, more like predators than dancers. One touched his back, another caressed his arm. Another leaned close to his neck. Then one voice broke through the soft chaos. I choose him, Izara said. The others froze. The Queen narrowed her eyes. Are you sure, child? Izara nodded. Yes. I claim him. A long silence followed. Then, the Queen smiled too widely. Very well, the human is yours, Russ, for now. The other daughters stepped away, their eyes cold. Izara walked beside Jake and whispered without looking at him. Don't speak, just walk. Jake nodded. Together, they exited the hall through a side corridor. The doors shut behind them, sealing off the feast. Once out of sight, Izara grabbed his hand tightly. We have little time, she whispered. I broke the rules. They will come for us. Jake finally spoke. Why are you helping me? She looked at him. Her eyes were sad. Because I know what it's like to be chosen. The secret behind the feast. Jake followed Izara down a narrow hallway lit by strange blue crystals. The walls pulsed like they were breathing, and the air grew colder with each step. Izara moved quickly. She didn't look back. Where are we going? Jake asked in a low voice. To the truth, she said. The kind they don't want you to see. They passed strange statues, alien beings frozen in poses of agony or worship. Their faces were twisted, mouths open in silent screams. Jake felt a chill crawl down his back. Izara stopped in front of a tall, sealed door. A circular device hovered beside it, blinking red. She placed her hand on it. The device scanned her palm, then spoke in a robotic voice. Royal daughter Izara, access granted. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a chamber, dark, quiet, and filled with floating screens. The walls were covered in carvings, written in the Velkari language. Jake couldn't read them, but the pictures were clear. Humans. Always humans. Held in chains, hooked to machines, surrounded by the Queen's daughters. What? What is this place? He whispered. Izara turned to him. The Royal Archive. Only direct daughters of the Queen can enter. This is where they store the truth and bury it. She walked to one screen and waved her hand. It lit up, showing a video. A human man sat on a golden bed, smiling. One of the Queen's daughters walked in. She kissed him, whispered something, and then his body convulsed. The lights above him flickered. The screen went black. Jake stepped back. He died? Izara shook her head. Worse, he was emptied. She pulled up another file. This time the video showed rows of human men in glass chambers, asleep or unconscious, with tubes running into them. The caption read, Essence Harvest, Cycle 224A. They don't want human lovers, Izara said quietly. They want human power. Something in your species makes us stronger, faster. It heals the Queen's bloodline, but it kills the donor, always. Jake clenched his fists. Why me? Izara looked away. Because you're the last type they haven't tried. Pure earthborn, strong immune system, no gene splicing. They believe you might survive the process, long enough to give them everything. Jake looked around at the dark room. How many have died? Izara's voice cracked. Too many. He turned to her. And you? Are you one of them? She nodded slowly. Half human. My father was one of the taken. The Queen never wanted me to live, but I did. Jake stared at her, his mind racing. You're risking your life helping me. I know. Suddenly the room lights turned red. A loud voice echoed through the chamber. Unauthorized access detected. Royal security has been dispatched. Izara's eyes widened. We have to move. Now. She pulled a glowing crystal from the wall and handed it to Jake. This holds everything. The videos, the history, the names of all the humans they've taken. If you can escape, show the galaxy. Jake pocketed the crystal as heavy footsteps echoed outside the door. Izara grabbed his arm. There's a back tunnel. It leads to the pleasure wing. If we make it there, we can hide. Maybe slip out during the next ritual. Jake nodded. Lead the way. They sprinted out of the archive as the main doors slammed open behind them. Guards in black armor stormed in, shouting in alien tongues. Jake and Izara ducked into a narrow passage. The air smelled sweet and sharp like the feast hall. Laughter echoed through the walls. Fake, soft, seductive. This place, Jake whispered. It's like a dream. Izara didn't answer. She stopped at a door and pressed her fingers into the wall. The door slid open. Inside, the room was glowing pink and gold. Soft pillows floated in the air. Music played gently. Alien couples lay together, eyes closed, smiles on their faces. Jake stepped in and whispered, "Is this a trap?" Izara nodded. "Yes, but it's the only place they won't look. No one escapes from here, because no one wants to." Jake turned to her. "Then we just became the first." As the door closed behind them and the guards passed without noticing, Jake knew one thing. The real feast was never about food. It was about feeding on the truth, and he had just tasted it. The Queen's game. Begins, the pleasure wing was too quiet. Jake had seen battlefields, alien prisons, even black holes, but nothing felt as dangerous as this glowing, soft paradise. The air smelled like flowers and sugar. The walls were warm to the touch. Laughter echoed gently like a memory trying to make him sleep. He leaned against the wall, breathing fast. Izara didn't sit. She paced. Her eyes scanned the corners, the ceiling, the mirrors. "They call this place Mercy," she said quietly. "But it's just another prison, a prettier one." Jake looked around. Alien couples lay motionless, locked in gentle embrace. Some smiled. Some cried. None moved. He whispered, "They're drugged?" "Worse," Izara said. "They've given up." Jake clenched his jaw. "That's not going to be us." But then a low hum began to build, through the floor, into their bones. Izara froze. She knows. Before Jake could speak, the wall ahead shimmered and turned into a screen. Queen Zalthera's face appeared. Calm, beautiful, deadly. "I knew you were special," she said sweetly. "But I didn't know you'd be foolish enough to run." Jake stepped forward. "I know everything now. The harvest, the archive, the experiments. I'll expose you." The Queen laughed. "You still don't understand, human. You can't run. Not from this." She raised one long silver finger. "I invoke the right of selection," Izara gasped. "No, not that." Jake turned to her. "What is it?" "It's the game," she whispered. "The Queen's way of making escape entertaining." The screen vanished. The walls shook. A hidden panel opened beside them, revealing an arena made of silver sand and floating platforms. Dozens of alien nobles appeared in the balconies above, watching, cheering. A soft voice echoed through the chamber. "Let the choosing game begin." Jake and Izara were shoved forward by invisible force fields. Across the arena, the other 6 royal daughters waited, dressed in battle silk, their eyes glowing with hunger. Izara looked at Jake. "They're not here to kill you. They want to claim you." Jake blinked. "Claim me how?" "Whoever wins this game gets you. Body and blood." A bell rang. The daughters moved fast. One flew through the air like lightning. Another melted into the shadows and reappeared behind Jake. A third sent out a wave of blue fire. Jake ducked, rolled, barely avoided a beam of heat that turned the sand into glass. Izara fought beside him, quick, smart, trained. "This is why she let you in," Jake shouted between dodges. "She wanted this." "She lives for this," Izara replied. "It's not about power, it's sport. Humans are her arena toys." Suddenly, one daughter tackled Jake, her fingers wrapping around his neck. "You smell like fire," she hissed. "I want to burn with you." Izara yanked her off, throwing a glowing blade into her shoulder. The daughter screamed and vanished into mist. "They can't die here," Izara said, "but they can be weakened." Jake stood, breathing hard. "Then let's weaken them all." He grabbed a fallen staff, alien tech with pulsing lights. With a swing, he knocked one daughter off a platform. Izara took down another with a double kick to the chest. The crowd above screamed in delight. Then, everything stopped. A blinding light covered the arena. The Queen appeared again, floating down like a god. "You fight well, human," she said, "so I will give you a choice." Jake narrowed his eyes. She smiled coldly. "Choose now. Any one of my daughters. Choose willingly, and the game ends. You will be treated like a king, until you are needed." Jake didn't answer. She continued, "Refuse, and the next game will not be so kind. You'll be broken, slowly." Jake looked at Izara. Her eyes said, "Don't do it." Then he turned, back to the queen. "I choose none of them," he said clearly, "and I will never belong to you." The queen's smile vanished. "So be it." She raised her hand. The walls shook again. This time a door opened below the arena. A deep black pity. Jake turned to Izara. "What is that?" Her face was pale. "The next level, where they send those who don't play by the rules." He stepped to the edge. "Then let's break every rule." Izara smiled weakly, and together, they jumped into the darkness below. The Queen's Game begins. More unique version. The walls of the pleasure wing felt like silk, but the danger inside was sharp like knives. Jake and Izara sat in the far corner of a glowing chamber, hidden behind floating curtains and perfume-filled mist. Strange, music played from the walls. It was slow and sweet, meant to make the mind relax, to forget everything, but Jake couldn't relax. Not after what he had seen in the Royal Archive. Izara didn't blink. She stared at the crystal door. "They're coming soon," she whispered. Jake leaned forward. "Can we run?" She shook her head. "No. She won't chase us. She'll play with us first." Just then, a cold breeze swept through the room, even though there were no windows, and the Queen's voice filled the chamber like it came from the sky. "Human," Queen Zalthera said softly. "You run well, but let us see how well you perform." Suddenly the floor cracked open. The ground under Jake and Izara tilted, and before they could escape, they were dropped into a new chamber, a glowing arena made of red sand and black mirrors. Above, alien, nobles sat in floating chairs watching like it was a show, and in the middle of the arena stood the queen wrapped in silver robes. Her 7 daughters were beside her, dressed in different colors. Each one held a different weapon: a whip, a spear, a fan of blades, even glowing threads like spider silk. Jake and Izara stood up slowly. The queen raised her hand. "Tonight, the choosing game begins," she said. "This is our tradition. This is your honor." Jake looked around. "Honor?" Izara answered quietly. "It's a hunt disguised as a ritual." The queen smiled at Jake. "You are the prize, a rare male. The daughters will fight for you. The one who wins gets to bond with you." Jake's stomach turned. "You mean I don't choose?" "No," the queen said sweetly. "You are the reward, a treasure for the strongest." Without warning, the game started. The red sand rippled, walls rose and sank, floating platforms circled in the air. The daughters began to move, fast, graceful, deadly. One leaped toward Jake, spinning a glowing chain around her body. He ducked just in time. Another swung a staff that exploded into sparks. He rolled away, barely escaping. "Don't fight them head on," Izara shouted. "They're trained for this." Jake picked up a jagged piece of the broken arena floor, his only weapon. Meanwhile, Izara jumped onto a floating platform, kicking one sister in the chest and sending her flying into a pit of smoke. Another daughter tried to wrap her silk threads around Jake's arms. He threw sand in her face and slipped out of her trap. The nobles above cheered like it was a circus. But Jake wasn't a toy. He ran to the center of the arena and grabbed a strange-looking crystal from a pillar. It pulsed, with power. When he slammed it into the ground, a force wave shot out, knocking 3 daughters off their feet. Izara landed beside him. "Where did you learn that?" Jake grinned. "I didn't. I guessed." One daughter, Thaleen, the queen's favorite, walked forward, bleeding from her mouth. She didn't look angry. She looked thrilled. "You're different," she whispered. "No fear." "I'm just tired of being hunted," Jake said. She laughed, then charged with lightning speed. Izara threw herself between them, blocking Thaleen's spear with a shockwave of sound from her gauntlet. The two fought hard. Kicks, sparks, crashing energy. Jake stepped back, dizzy from the heat and noise. That's when he noticed something. The queen. She wasn't watching the daughters. She was watching him. Not like a ruler, like a collector staring at a rare object. She never intended to let me leave, Jake realized. Izara finally knocked the lean to the ground, panting hard. The queen clapped slowly. Well done, she said. Now, human, choose your bond, or be claimed by force. Jake stood still. Blood dripped from his hand. His heart pounded. His mouth was dry. He looked at all 7 daughters. Then he looked at Izara, and he said loud and clear, I choose none of you. The queen's smile vanished. Izara whispered, She won't take that lightly. The floor rumbled again. The arena began to fall apart. The walls melted into liquid light. The queen spoke one last time. Then you will go to the under trial. Jake turned to Izara. What's that? Her face turned pale. No one comes back from the under trial. A black hole opened below them, sucking in light air. And Jake. He reached for Izara's hand. She caught it just in time, and they both fell together into the darkness. Escape through the pleasure chambers, more unique version. They fell into silence. Jake and Izara tumbled through a tunnel of spinning light and sound, like falling inside a dream that was trying to swallow them. Wind whipped around them, even though there was no sky. Whispers echoed in their ears, soft voices calling their names, offering lies in sweet tones. Then, boom, they hit the ground. Jake gasped, rolling onto his back. The floor was soft, almost like a pillow. It glowed pink under his hands. Above, the ceiling shimmered like a lake reflecting stars. They were no longer in the arena. No fire, no weapons, no cheering crowds. Just pleasure. Izara stood up fast. She threw us into the pleasure chambers, the lowest level. Jake pushed himself, up groaning. This doesn't look dangerous. Izara's eyes were cold. That's the danger. As they walked forward, the air became heavy, sweet like honey and warm like a lover's breath. Music played from the walls again, soft and slow. Beautiful alien women and men lay on floating beds, whispering, smiling, laughing without care. Some wore nothing, others wore robes of glowing silk, but all had one thing in common: they were trapped, eyes wide open, bodies still, hearts beating slow. Jake stepped closer to one couple. The man, another human, had dry tears on his face. His arms were wrapped around a glowing alien woman, but he wasn't moving, just breathing slowly, as if asleep. Izara placed a hand on Jake's chest. Don't look at them too long, she warned. The room feeds on thoughts. If you want to stay, it will trap you. Jake looked away fast. How do we get out? There is no door, she said, only a want. If we don't want to leave, we won't find the way. He blinked. That's insane. It's Velkari magic tech. They built this place to make you surrender willingly. They moved forward quickly. The halls curved in strange shapes. Doors appeared and vanished. Laughter came from nowhere. Voices whispered promises. You are loved here. No more running. You've earned peace. Jake grabbed Izara's hand tighter. We keep walking. They passed rooms where humans danced forever in slow circles. Others floated in dream water, always smiling. One chamber showed Jake a vision. Earth, his family, an old lover calling his name. He stopped. Jake, Izara snapped. It's not real. He shook his head, stepping away from the illusion. It felt real. That's how it works. They reached a long hallway. Mirrors lined the walls. Each one showed a different version of Jake. One was wearing a crown. Another held Izara in his arms. One was old. One was young. One was bleeding. Izara said, The mirrors will offer you paths, but none are yours. Jake closed his eyes. How do we beat this? You don't beat it, she said. You reject it. Just then a door opened ahead. Inside was a room with red silk walls and a large golden bed. On it sat Queen Zalthera. She wasn't a hologram this time. She was real. Her beauty was overwhelming. glowing skin, silver hair like flowing starlight, eyes like suns. "Come," she said softly. "This running has tired you." Jake stepped forward, but only one step. The queen reached out her hand. "Stay, Jake, be my chosen. You'll live forever, enjoy, no pain, no fear, all you must do is let go." The room became warmer. The smell of flowers thickened. Behind him, Izara began to fade. "Jake," she said, voice distant. "Don't. Leave me, please." He turned around. The chamber started shaking. The queen frowned. "You are stronger than I thought," she said quietly. "But even strength breaks under pleasure." Jake stepped back. "I don't want your pleasure," he said. "I want my freedom." The queen stood, her eyes turned sharp. "You refuse me again?" Jake nodded. "Yes, I choose her." He pointed at Izara. The chamber cracked. Light exploded from the mirrors. The bed caught fire. The queen's voice roared, "You will regret this, human." But Jake had already grabbed Izara's hand. Together, they ran through the breaking illusion. Ears. Walls fell apart, the silk melted. The lights shattered, a doorway appeared, a dark tunnel leading upward. "Go!" Izara shouted. Jake didn't hesitate. They ran. Behind them, the queen screamed, her voice twisting into something no longer human. As they reached the tunnel's end, Jake turned one last time and saw the pleasure chambers crumble into dust. They were out, but they weren't safe yet, because ahead of them was the royal core, the place where the queen kept her deepest secret, and Jake was ready to burn. It all at Ruth, about the daughters, more unique version. The tunnel led upward into silence. Jake and Izara climbed the smooth, dark path, their hands raw and knees aching. The walls pulsed like veins, glowing faintly with green light. Above them, the sound of machines hummed low like a beast sleeping deep underground. At last they reached a round door. Unlike the glowing gates before, this one was made of black stone. There were no buttons, no panels, just a single handprint carved in the center. Izara stepped forward. "Only daughters can enter." She placed her hand on the stone. The door hissed. "Welcome, daughter of the forbidden bloodline." A cold voice whispered from within. The door opened. They stepped into a vast room, cold, quiet, and full of tanks. Hundreds of glowing glass tubes lined the walls, stretching up into the darkness. Inside each one floated a shape, some human, some alien, and some twisted combinations of both. Wires, tubes, and lights were connected to their bodies. Jake froze. He stepped closer to a nearby tank. Inside floated a human man, eyes shut, arms open, like he was sleeping. But his face was pale, lifeless. Izara touched the glass. "This is where they come when the queen is done with them." Jake turned slowly, taking in the horror. "She keeps them?" "She feeds from them," Izara said. "Bit by bit. They're alive but empty. The process keeps her young, keeps her strong." He clenched his fists. "And the daughters?" Izara looked away. "They're not born like normal children. The queen creates them using human DNA, harvested essence, mixed with her own." Jake blinked. "She builds her own daughters?" Izara nodded. "Each one designed for beauty, power, and loyalty. Except me." Jake stepped back. "Because your father was different?" "Yes," she said softly. "He wasn't harvested. He broke free for a moment. He ran. He chose love, not pleasure. And that moment of choice made me unstable by their standards." She walked to a control panel and pressed her fingers into a hidden slot. The floor lit up, revealing a long, glowing line that led to the center of the chamber. There, a giant tank rose from the ground. Inside floated a strange creature, half human, half queen. It had a human face, but with glowing alien eyes. Its chest moved slowly, as if breathing once every few minutes. Jake stared. "What is that?" Izara spoke slowly. "That is the first daughter The prototype. She was too unstable, too powerful. The queen locked her here. Jake took a step closer. The being's eyes snapped open, pure white, no pupils. They stared straight at him. She's awake, Jake whispered. The creature placed its hand on the glass. A pulse of psychic energy filled the room. Jake gasped. He saw images, screaming humans, flashing blades, tubes of blood, and the queen smiling, while holding a newborn made from stolen DNA. Jake stumbled back. Izara caught him. She showed you the truth. Jake looked around at the tanks. We have to destroy this place. I know, Izara said. But once we do, the queen will come. And she will not fight with tricks or dreams this time. She'll come to kill. Jake nodded. Then let's give her a reason. He pulled the crystal Izara had given him earlier, the one with the truth inside. He plugged it into the control panel. The screens around them lit up, showing video recordings of the choosing games. Logs of human DNA used in daughter creation. Footage of the pleasure chambers feeding on souls. Audio of the queen ordering the harvests. Sending data to outer network, a robotic voice said. Jake smiled grimly. The galaxy will see who their beautiful queen really is. The lights flickered, sirens rang. Warning, data breach, royal core compromised. Izara grabbed Jake's hand. She's coming. The tank holding the first daughter cracked. Inside, the creature smiled. She's helping us, Izara whispered. Jake looked up as the tank shattered and the prototype floated free. She didn't speak. She only looked at Jake and nodded. She turned toward the wall and raised her hand. A wave of pure energy blew through the chamber, smashing control panels and shattering the other tanks. Alarms screamed. The trapped victims, human and alien, began to awaken. Some screamed, some cried, some just breathed for the first time in years. Jake ran to help a human man out of a broken pod. The man collapsed, gasping. Earth, I want to go home. We'll get you there, Jake promised. Izara looked at him. This is war now. Jake nodded. Then let's finish it. And far above, in her crystal throne, the queen opened her eyes. Her game had been broken. Her secrets were out. And now, the last round was hers to fight. One man against a royal bloodline, more unique version. The palace shook. Above the royal core, alarms screamed. Lights turned blood red. Columns cracked and glass shattered as Jake Reiner and Izara sprinted through, burning corridors leading the survivors behind them. Some limped, some crawled, many could barely breathe. But they were alive, and for the first time in years, free. The queen's voice echoed through every wall. You dare touch my bloodline? You dare break my chambers? You dare betray your queen? Jake didn't stop. Keep going, he shouted over the chaos. Don't look back. Behind him, the half-human prototype floated through the air, silent and glowing. She moved like a ghost but destroyed everything that stood in their way. Her eyes burned white, and her mere presence made the walls ripple. She's protecting us, Izara said, panting beside him. But only for now. Soon she'll lose control, Jake nodded. Then we finish this before she does. They reached the throne hall. It was beautiful. Too beautiful for a battlefield. Walls of crystal reflected stars. The floor was polished to a mirror shine. And on a high floating throne sat Queen Zalthera, her silver gown glowing like fire. But she was not smiling now. She stood. The guards who flanked her did not move. Instead, they melted into the walls, becoming part of the palace itself. The queen wanted no help, only revenge. She raised her hands. I offered you paradise. She said to Jake, her voice calm like a storm before lightning. I offered you a place beside gods, and you choose this? Pain, chaos, rebellion? Jake stepped forward. I chose the truth. You are nothing, she screamed, her beauty turning sharp. Too sharp. Her skin cracked slightly, revealing a second layer underneath, one filled with energy and shadow. I was everything before humans, she said. I will be everything after. She pointed at Izara. And you, my disappointment. You could have been perfect. Izara's voice trembled, but she stood tall. I'd rather be broken and free than flawless and owned. The queen attacked. The air split open as waves of raw energy blasted toward them. Jake grabbed Izara and dived behind a fallen column. The force melted the crystal floor. The others scattered, screaming. The prototype stepped in, raising a hand. She blocked the queen's second attack, but only barely. Her body glowed too bright, her limbs flickering in and out of reality. She's losing herself, Izara shouted. Jake made a decision. He pulled the last energy crystal from his belt, the one Izara had given him. It was unstable, pure power wrapped in a fragile shell. If I get close enough, he said, I can destroy her core. Izara grabbed his arm. You won't survive. I might not have to, Jake said. If I can get her to focus on me, you and the prototype can break her link to the palace. Izara's eyes were wet. You'll die. Jake smiled. Maybe. But not on my knees. He ran. Straight at the queen. She laughed. You challenge me, human? Jake didn't answer. He dodged another blast, then another. Each one cracked the floor behind him. He jumped onto a floating platform, then another, and another, closer and closer to her throne. The queen floated down to meet him. You think you matter? She asked. You are food, a single heartbeat in my empire. I'm the heartbeat that you'll choke on, he growled. He pulled the crystal from his belt and slammed it onto the platform. The queen's eyes widened. The platform glowed red hot, then exploded. Everything went white. Jake flew backward, his body burning with heat. He hit the ground hard. Pain exploded in every bone. But he was alive. The queen, however, was not untouched. Her robes were gone. Her skin cracked, leaking white light. She screamed, a sound that wasn't words, but pure rage. She charged. But before she could reach him, Izara stepped between them. Her arms glowed with alien tech. She held a control sphere stolen from the core. I disconnect you, she whispered. She crushed it. A wave of force shot through the air. The palace flickered. The queen screamed again, this time in panic. No! The prototype floated above her now. Her body shined like a second sun. She looked at the queen, then spoke for the first time. You built me from lies. She reached out and touched the queen's forehead. Light exploded. When the light faded, the queen was on her knees. Her throne shattered, her power broken. She looked up at Jake, bleeding, burnt, but standing. You ruined everything. Jake walked slowly toward her. No, he said. You did. And then he turned away. The survivors stood quietly behind him. Human men, half-blood daughters, alien hybrids. Each one carried pain, but they also carried hope. Izara walked to Jake's side and helped him stand. The prototype floated above them. She was no longer glowing wildly. Her body dimmed, fading. What will happen to her? Jake asked. She was built from pain, Izara said. But she chose her own ending. The prototype looked at them one last time and smiled. Then, like a dying star, she vanished into golden dust. 3 days later, the survivors left Xelar Prime. Jake stood on the deck of a small transport ship. His arm was in a sling. His body, but his heart was full. Galactic broadcasts now told the truth. The Velkari queen was dead, the royal daughters freed. The choosing games exposed, and the galaxy watched as Jake Reiner, a human, became the first man to survive the queen's trap and end an empire of lies. Izara stood beside him, no longer hiding her face. Her eyes shined with something new. Peace. What? Now? She asked. Jake looked at the stars. Now? He said. We go home.